Hello student. So this is our video on ICSE Java tutorial series, and in this video we are going to discuss about selection sorting in Java. So we have already been discussed about the two searching techniques. Now here we are dealing with the first of the two sorting technique, that is selection sort. Now, as we know, selection sort is a technique where we just try to find out the smallest element in the unsorted array, and that smallest element will always placed at the first position and move to the correct or the first position in this case, and then the element which is at the first position will take the place of the smallest element. Okay, so here we will try to understand. We use a technique in selection sort called exchange selection sort, where we require only a single array to work with. Means within that array the two elements change their position or they exchange their position. Okay, and we continue finding the next smallest element and keep exchanging their positions. So we will try to understand with the help of an example here. As we can see, we have this unsorted array at the beginning, and these are the index numbers, or okay, 0 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. Okay, and the elements are placed in an unsorted form. Now we will imagine that the 15 is the smallest over here at the beginning, and we'll keep comparing 15 with all the elements, and by doing this we have come to know that the last element 2 is the smallest in that given array. So these 15 and 2 will interchange their position. They will interchange their position. So 15 will go to where the 2 was placed, and 2 will come to the first place. So after first run, our array will look like this. The 2 has been placed at the beginning and 15 is at last where the 2 was. Now this way we will continue. So in the second run we will start from the second element. Please remember, with the second element onward, because we have already placed the smallest at the beginning. Now we will not touch this one. Now 6 will be compared with the rest of the element, and by doing this we have come to know that now the 3 is the smallest in the given unsorted array, or the remaining unsorted array. Now this 6 and 3 will interchange their position. So after for a second iteration it will look like 2, which was already there. Now 3 has come to the second place, and 6 is where 3 was, and rest of the array will remain the same. Now after second run we'll start with the third element onward, and by doing this we will try to find out the next smallest element over here, that is 6. Now 6 we will change its position with 13, so 6 will come here, 13 will go there. So it will look like 2 3 6 22, and then here it is 13, and then rest of the element. Now this way we'll go faster now. So now let's take start with the 22. Now we will see that in the rest of the array 13 is the smallest, so 22 and 13 will change their position. So 13 will come here, 22 will go there, and rest of the array will remain the same. Now we'll start with the 15 onwards, sorry, the 22 onwards. Now 22 will be compared with the rest. Yes, 15 is the smallest, 15 will come here, 22 will go there. So it will look like this. Now 15 is over here. Now 15 will be compared with the rest. So 15 will go to where 22 was, and 22 will come over here. And then finally we have 15 over here, then 22 and 52 will change their place. So 22 will come over here, and 52 will go there. So I hope that you must have understood how really it works. That is quite simple, and this is called exchange selection sort method. Now in the remaining part of the video we'll see one program, and we'll try to implement the same concept using computer part of the video, and we have already been discussed about how selection sort works. Now we will see one program in Java, and we'll try to understand how really we can write a program for selection sort. So let's open the BlueJ and I have already made one program, so I'll try to explain this program to you. Okay, so here is my program. As you can see, start from the beginning, we have a class called selection sort, and then we have a method with the name cell sort. You can name any. Okay, and this method is accepting two arguments of one of array type, which we store that array which we want to sort, and another one is the size of that array. You can always count the size also by using a length method also, but we will keeping it simple, so we straight away provide the size over here. Now we have few variables like I, j and k. We will be using these variables for running for loop. Fine. Then we have a variable called small, then tmp to store the variable temporarily, and pos to hold the position. Fine. So as you can see in this part, we are trying to find out the smallest element in the given array. So we are running a loop which is running from 0. You know why 0? Because the array always begin with the 0 index, and less than size. That also you know, because size is actually that index number. Oh, sorry, we are dealing with the index number, and size is always one ahead of an index number. Let's say if I have an array of size 10, then index number will be from 0 to 9 only. That is why this is lesser than sign over here. Then we are incrementing it. Fine. Okay. Now, initially we are assuming that the first element is the smallest element. Obviously, like you can see in the previous part of the video, I showed you that the first element will be taken as the smallest at the beginning. So AI, that means A0, or the first element is taken as the smallest one, and the I will be the position, that is the 0 is the position, means where my smallest element is. So initially the first element is the smallest, and that is the position where the smallest element is placed at the very beginning. Now within that outer loop we have inner loop. Okay, so that is something called nesting of for loop. So inside I we have a j loop, and j is running or has been initialized with I plus 1. Now this is interesting. I plus 1 means the I value of I is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. So j is running from 1, whereas I was running from 0. And that is quite obvious, because j should always run 1 ahead of I, because when I is 0 then j is 1. So that means j will be accessing the second element, whereas I was holding the first element, that was 0, where j is holding the value, initial value, that is 1, and 1 is my first index but the second element in that given array. And again it will run less than the size, that you know, and then will be incrementing. Now we are comparing if aj is actually my first index, but the second element is smaller than the small. And who is small? The first element. The first element is the small, but if the second element, aj is my second element, because aj is actually a1 is the second index. So if my second index number, or the second element in that array, is smaller than the small, means second is the smaller. Okay, we treated as the first one was the smallest, but now after comparison we have come to know that the second element is smaller than the small, means the first element. So then who will be the small? Second one will be the small. Earlier we assumed that the first one is small. Now we will be by comparison we have come to know that the second element is smaller than the first one. So aj, that is my second element, will be taken as treated as small, will be assigned to small, and now j will be the position, not I. Please remember. So I hope that you must be getting. So by comparing the first element with the second element, we have come to know that the second element is smaller than the first element. So second element will become the small, and that will be the position now. Initially which was 0 will be now 1, and then you remember that this loop will be keep going till the end. That means now second will be compared with the third, because j is incrementing. Now second will be compared with the third, If this is the case, they will interchange, or they will the position will change, and then third, fourth, fifth, and so on till the last. And by running this loop, by running this inner loop j completely, we will get the position of the smallest element. All right. And after getting the position of the smallest element, remember with the diagram what we discussed in the previous part of this video, they need to change their position. They need to change their position. So for changing the position, what is happening here is that we want to change the position of AI and A pause, because AI is the first element, whereas A pause is that position or that element where my smallest element is. Now I want to bring that smallest element at the first place to AI, and AI will go to where A pause was there. Please remember the diagram again. Okay, so this is a swapping technique that AI will assign its value to temp and then a pause to AI. This is what we want to do actually. The okay, and finally the value of temp, that was AI, goes to pause. So this is one way of interchanging the position or exchanging the position. Okay. So once they have changed their position, now what happened? This is our first iteration. This is our first iteration, and after first iteration, we are printing the loop of also after every pass. So here, just the message after the first pass. In this case, I is 0, so 0 plus 1 is 1. After first pass, my array will be printed. Okay. How? For that, I have a loop called k, which is just printing from 0 to less than size, means the full length of the array, and printing the value. But this key is just printing the array after first run. Then what will happen? We are still inside the I loop. Then next time the second element will be treated as the smallest, will be compared with all the element, will change their position and all, and we'll find out the second smallest, and then second smallest will change the position with the second element, and then will be printed after the second pass. So I hope that you must be getting what is happening over here. Okay, rest, when you will practice, then you will come to know. Okay, after doing all this, now ultimately we want to execute this program. For execution, I have this main method, and inside main method I have this array which is unsorted. As you can see, this is in unsorted form with the value like 15, 6, 13, 22, 3, 52, and 2, etc. You can even ask the users also to enter, but I'm keeping it simple. So that is why I have already assigned within the program itself. Now we have one variable I, which we will be using over here. Now here, what is this? This is called the calling of a function. We are calling this function. Which was that function? Cell sort. We have just defined over here. So the function which we have defined in this class called selection sort with the name cell sort, accepting two arguments of first of integer type, which is array, and second is the size. So we are calling it. So we are passing the value. This way you can understand this is called actually actual parameter, and these are formal parameters. Have a look at this. Formal are integer and integer. So actual are also two integer, whereas a and 7. But a is actually my array, which is again of integer type. So this is integer value as well as this is also integer value. So I hope that with this program you will come to know that what is actual and formal parameters. Also we are just calling. So since there will be a call for this method, the control goes to this part and will start executing all this. That is nothing but a process of doing selection sort. All right, now after this we are just printing one line. We want to bring the cursor to the new line, and now we are printing array in the ascending order, and that is quite simple using another for loop which is running from 0 to less than 7. You know why 7? Because the array size is 7 and we have index number from 0 to 6 only, and we are just printing their value with the variable a, and uh, index number as I, and I is changing from 0 to 6. So we have element from 0 to 6, so it will just print the sorted array, okay, which has been sorted using this cell sort method. So initially we have unsorted array. With the cell sort method we called it, so a cell sort method will work and will sort the array, and after sorting, when we will reprint it, it will be printed in the sorted form. So now let's run this program and see how we get the output. First we will compile. As you can see, it has been compiled successfully with no error. So we will now try to run this program and we'll see how it works. Okay, so we'll run this program, selection sort, and we'll see how really it works. So as you can see, after just clicking, it is giving me some output. So we'll analyze this output. Okay, so array after first pass will look like this. As you can see, the smallest element will be placed at the beginning, and then rest all are in unsorted form. After second pass, it will look like this. As you can see, the second smallest has been placed in the second position and rest is unsorted. And after third pass or third iteration, we have first three elements arranged in that order and rest are in unsorted because they are changing their position. And then after fourth run, we have again sorted 2 3 6 13 and rest are unsorted, then 2 3 6 13 15, then 52 and 22 are still unsorted, and finally 2 3 6 13 15 22 and 52, that is our last iteration or the seventh pass. And our array in the ascending order will look like this finally after the last run. So I hope that you must have understood how really it works, as you can still analyze this result by just looking at how selection sort works. So I hope that this will really help you. So I would say please try this program yourself. Thank you very much.